Hey, Pretty Girl Club, have you ever noticed that when it comes to the exotical space, a lot of people give this talking point of, you have to prove to me that you're pretty. And the reason they're saying that is because they have insecurities and they have an external locus of control. So they're hoping that you have the same insecurity. And it's hilarious because when it comes to the pretty privileged topic, I don't have to dox myself in order to prove my beauty to random people on the internet. I already receive validation in real life. My real life pretty privilege speaks for itself. And I notice that a lot of people get angry when they see anonymous content creators like myself come on here and they hear us talking about pretty privilege and hit dogs are hollering. So there's this constant talking point of, well, if you're so pretty, then why don't you just expose yourself? Why don't you just show yourself with no makeup or no wigs or no weave? And I find it interesting that these talking points are mainly coming from unambiguous dark skinned black women. And it's hilarious because that's the main group of women that doesn't like it when other people say that talking point to them. So people have said to unambiguous women, hey, take off the weave, take off the makeup. And they'll be like, hey, stay out of black women's business, stay out of black women's hair. But whenever it comes to the exotical space, where you've got a bunch of multiracial black women or lighter skinned black women, suddenly people they put you on a pedestal. First of all, a lot of people, they put us exoticals on a pedestal, and so they raise their beauty standard when it comes to us. So have you ever noticed that whenever you are the pretty girl, the standard of beauty for you is that you must measure up to a celebrity? So it's like, if you don't look like you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your beauty every year, you are not pretty enough. Have you ever noticed that? Like when it comes to themselves, a lot of times they could never even compare to a celebrity. They've never been told that they look like anybody famous. They've never had the type of pretty privilege that we talk about on this channel. I say on here all the time, this channel is not for women who identify as being average or ugly. This channel is for the women who identify as being beautiful, gorgeous, and stunning. So I stand 10 toes down on every talking point I've ever said. I identify as being beautiful, gorgeous, and stunning, and I will never apologize for my stance. I love the way that I look, and society does too. And that's not my fault. Like, I can't help the way that I was born, first of all. And I did not create popular beauty standards. I did not force anybody to give me pretty privilege. All I did with this YouTube channel was come on here and talk about my experiences. And we've got thousands of other exoticals on YouTube talking about our experiences with pretty privilege. We can't all be lying. You're telling me that out of tens of thousands of women, that all of us are making everything up? All of us are delusional? No, we can't all be delusional. And have you ever noticed that when it comes to pretty privilege in general, first of all, ever since the exotical space came out, suddenly everybody has pretty privilege. Suddenly the isms don't exist. And it's like, okay, if everybody had pretty privilege, then nobody would have it. It would no longer be a privilege if everyone had that same experience. And so I think that the exotical space, it really triggers a lot of people because it starts to expose the social status gap between pretty privileged women and non-pretty privileged women. And it's funny because here in the exotical space, we actually have never named any specific features as not being pretty. Like, you've never heard any of the exoticals say, oh, well, dark skin is not pretty, or afros are not pretty, or, XYZ body type is not pretty. You've never heard us actually create a standard and say that if you don't meet XYZ standard, you're not pretty. But notice how whenever someone wants to come against the pretty privileged talking points of this space, that's exactly what they will do. They will pull up an image of a famous celebrity that spends millions of dollars on their beauty. They'll pull up images of celebrities that they have professional makeup artists, professional photographers, professional hairstylists. They've got cosmetic dentistry, cosmetic surgeries, nose jobs, boob jobs, whatever. They'll pull up somebody like that, and then they will try to put that celebrity's picture side by side, or they'll try to make this comparison to expose you or make you feel inferior. But anytime somebody compares you to a celebrity at all, that is actually proof that you have undeniable pretty privilege. The fact that anybody can even think of a celebrity, if a famous person, especially a beauty icon, if any sort of beauty icon celebrity comes to mind when a person thinks of you and they compare you to them, that is undeniable proof that you have pretty privilege. So I find it ironic that you have women in the Black community saying, hey, stop trying to project your beauty standards onto us. But then other women will try to project their beauty standard onto Exoticals. They'll try to automatically project a Hollywood beauty standard onto Exoticals. So they're actually exposing what their internalized beauty standard is. So if you saw YouTuber Blunt Girlie's video where she was trying to dox all of the different Exoticals, she was trying to show images of who she thinks all of us are, and she was attempting to kind of downplay their beauty and downplay their identities. The way that she was trying to do that was based on a Hollywood beauty standard. So she suffers from hierarchy thinking. So she feels like Hollywood beauty is at the top. Okay, so let's talk about Hollywood. So anybody that's in Hollywood, obviously they spend millions of dollars on their appearance. They've got a professional glam team. So she's actually admitting that the Exoticals are automatically on a pedestal because her barrier to entry for beauty, she's trying to say that the barrier to entry for you to be considered pretty privileged is to look like you spend millions of dollars on your beauty. And then my second question is, okay, if a woman does not spend millions of dollars on her beauty, where does that rank you? And where does that rank all of the unambiguous monoracial dark-skinned Black women who are not spending millions of dollars on their beauty? So do you see how they expose their hierarchy thinking? Because it's like, okay, if these women who are adjacent to celebrities, if those women are average or mid, where does that place you as someone who doesn't look like any celebrities? So if a woman gets told she looks like 25 celebrities and you're saying that she's just regular, what about the women who don't get told they look like any celebrity? Are you saying they're not beautiful? And have you ever noticed that whenever someone goes out of their way to call one of us ugly or mid, they are never able to pinpoint the exact features on your face that are ugly. So as soon as I ask them, okay, what exactly is ugly? Her eyes, nose, lips, skin tone, bone structure, hair texture? What exactly is ugly? Anytime I ask that question, no Black YouTuber has been able to answer me. All they can talk about is, oh, her outfit is ugly, or her makeup looks bad, her wig looks bad, her weave looks off, her highlights look bad. Okay, that's not her though. Her hair weave is not her identity. So that's not, you're actually not calling her ugly. What you're saying is that outre or sensational or RPG show wigs, you're saying that their wig is ugly. So that's not an actual insult towards the person. So that's how I know that the insults are disingenuous. So they can't call out your face card for declining. They know that your face card doesn't decline. They know that your body doesn't decline. They know that your skin complexion doesn't decline. And so they try to pinpoint random things. They'll pull things out of thin air, like, oh, boy, her outfit is ugly, so she's ugly. And that's pure gaslighting. So anytime somebody does that, they're hoping that you have an external locus of control. They want you to feel insecure in your relationship with beauty enhancements, because that's actually one of the core insecurities that we see amongst unambiguous Black women. Have you ever noticed that? In the unambiguous community, one of their core beauty insecurities, it's actually surrounding things like wigs, weaves, makeup, body type, maybe feeling over-sexualized, or maybe feeling invisible for being plus size. So that's why I say to always listen to the insults that a woman gives you, because her insults will actually tell you what type of hierarchy thinking she suffers from. And have you ever noticed that when it comes to the pretty privilege conversation, a lot of women are mad because I talk about pretty privilege from a decentered perspective. So I don't center the pretty privilege conversation around men. And so you've got all these hit dogs hollering. You've got content creators coming out of the woodworks and saying things like, if you're not married, then it's because you're not pretty. Or if a man's not texting you, or if you don't have enough desirability in the white male gaze, that you must be ugly. So do you see how they're saying your beauty is determined by men? Your beauty is determined by your text messages. Your beauty is determined by Hollywood and how you compare to celebrities. If you don't look like Beyonce's twin, you are not beautiful. You're average. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So who's closer to looking like Beyonce? One of the Exoticals or an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman? Do you see how that's actually a diss against yourself? So do you see how they expose their internalized self-hatred? So they have this scarcity mindset around beauty. They feel like there's only one type of beauty. If you don't fit whatever the Hollywood standard is, then you are not beautiful. You're average or you're mid. And have you also noticed that whenever you see other pretty privileged content creators, if you ask them, hey, what is your internalized beauty standard? You got so much to say about pretty privilege. If you identify as having pretty privilege, please tell me, what's your internal beauty standard? They can never give you an exact description from head to toe on what their internalized beauty standard is. When I created this channel, I have made over 1,000 videos backing up my talking points, and I've also made videos talking about my internalized beauty standard and how to identify your own internalized beauty standard. So I find it interesting that women who do not identify as having pretty privilege, or women who can't even articulate what their beauty standard is, they have so much to say about the women in this space who do identify as beautiful. And the bottom line is, we did not come on the internet to seek validation from random women who are not even a part of our community. That's not why the exotical space exists. This will always be a space for us to validate ourselves. We have an internal locus of control, so we don't have to prove our beauty to anybody else. As long as we are happy with our beauty, as long as we feel beautiful inside of ourselves, then I don't see the problem. Not to mention the fact that when it comes to somebody's beauty, okay, let's say that all of us exoticals are ugly. Let's say that we're all ugly and we're all frauds. Okay, now what? Did that help your channel grow? Like, do you feel better now? Like, what is your goal? What is your strategy with calling random women ugly or trying to, I guess, dox people or pull up their pictures or compare them with others? What is your goal with that? What type of person do you think would do that? Do you think that a secure woman who truly feels pretty privileged, a woman who is truly living the soft life, do you think that that woman would truly engage in that behavior? A woman who's living her life on a pedestal, a woman who is so beautiful that she has events to look forward to, she has dates to look forward to since they want to bring up the male gaze. Do you truly think that a woman who has all of those things going for her would take time out of her day to create several videos searching for random women on the internet, some women who don't even have YouTube channels, and trying to compare their pictures to random Hollywood celebrities? Beauty is not a monolith. So just because someone doesn't look like a celebrity, it doesn't mean that they're not beautiful. We have an abundance mindset about beauty. And have you ever noticed that not one YouTuber has been able to address any of our talking points? The main thing that people resort to is personal insults, or they try to figure out who people are so they can try to invade their privacy. And I want to talk about that too. Let's talk about the psychology of women who want to invade the privacy of a beautiful woman. Have you ever noticed that whenever a woman is very gorgeous, you'll always have women randomly speculating about her, like, wait a minute, why is she so pretty? Is that even her real hair? Is she wearing makeup? Is she using filters? Did she bleach her skin? Why does she look like that? So what they're doing is they're asking questions. They want to get into your private, personal beauty and hygiene information. They want access to that information. They feel entitled to that information. And they're asking about that because they're trying to figure out the secret to your beauty. They want to figure out what makes you stand out so much. So that's why you have women who do this behavior where they'll be stalking people's social media. Have you ever met women like that? Like at your job or at your school? They're stalking your social media. They're following everything you do. They're trying to pull up all these images of you. They're trying to compare you side by side to themselves, or they compare you side by side to others. Why do women do that? Because the only women who would care about what any of these anonymous channels look like, the only people who would care are men who want to fuck us or women who want to compare themselves to us. Those are the only women who care about how beautiful you are. Because remember, another woman's beauty doesn't take away from your own, right? So if you're around a woman who is so preoccupied with how beautiful you are or aren't, that's a woman that views you as competition, not just for beauty, but for social status. And for the people who say oh, well, all of these women making pretty privileged content, they're delusional and ugly. It's like, okay, well, our delusion got us pretty damn far because we have tens of thousands of subscribers. We've got women who are building entire businesses off of their YouTube channel. So you're telling me that we are able to create hundreds of videos discussing the nuances of pretty privilege without having that privilege? We must be pretty damn smart then. And also, if people truly thought that all of us are ugly, then why would they be so concerned with how we look? Why would they be so concerned with trying to figure out your private information? Why would they be so concerned to the point where they're trying to stalk people's social media, or they're trying to zoom into your photos or try to zoom into your hair to see if it's real? They zoom into your facial features to see if you had surgery. Why would a person even do that if they truly believed you were ugly? Do you see people zooming in on the celebrities' pictures where they think that person is unattractive? No. You only see people zooming in on celebrities that they find very beautiful. And have you ever seen those tabloids about celebrities where it's like they post their cellulite or they post them from unflattering angles? That's a part of the celebrity treatment. They're doing that because they are trying to take that celebrity off the pedestal, because it makes ugly people, it makes unattractive people feel better to know that someone so beautiful has an unflattering picture. It makes somebody who feels ugly, it makes them feel more on a level playing field. So that's why people like doing that. That's why they like zooming in when it's like you look bad or something, or they show something that looks bad. They try to show a person in low lighting, or they try to get them at an awkward angle. People like doing that because it makes them feel more powerful. They feel like they have more social power. And so it's almost this talking point of, you're not that pretty, you're ugly just like me. You're average just like me. You're at the bottom just like me. If you don't look like Beyonce, you don't have pretty privilege. If you don't look like XYZ celebrity, you don't have pretty privilege. And my question is, who are you to determine what other random women's pretty privilege is? And what do you have to gain from telling other women that they are not valid in their beauty? What they're doing is they're trying to invalidate your beauty identity. They want you to feel like you're not good enough. They want you to feel like you're not pretty enough. And what they don't understand is that when it comes to privilege, it doesn't matter how pretty you are as long as you are pretty. As long as that person that's giving you the free drink or whatever, as long as that person views you as pretty, you're still going to receive the pretty privilege treatment. You're still going to have a lifestyle that tends to line up with women who have pretty privileged experiences. So let's say somebody is doing a modeling thing or something, and they go into a casting. The casting director, they're not thinking to themselves, does this person look like XYZ celebrity? Because if they don't, then I'm not going to choose them. Does this person, are they the most beautiful person in the world? Because if not, then I'm not going to give them an opportunity. No, that's not how social climbing actually works. Society does not actually follow hierarchies. Anything that's based on a social construct is subjective. So anybody that tries to argue and say that, oh, you are objectively unattractive, you're objectively unattractive because you have these facial features that don't meet the golden ratio. Anytime somebody tries to make arguments like that, first of all, that person believes in eugenics. So look up eugenics and look up what that is. Look up the origins of that and the implications of that, especially when it comes to unambiguous dark-skinned black women. Anybody who supports those types of talking points, that's actually where the talking points come from, where they're like, oh, dark-skinned women can't wear red lipstick. Well, yeah, because on the golden ratio, when it comes to the color saturation of your skin versus like the bright makeup color, yeah, it doesn't match. That's why. It doesn't match the golden ratio. So we all know that that's BS. So anytime somebody brings up these hierarchy talking points, I give them the side eye, because hierarchy thinking, it comes from a scarcity mindset. They feel like there's only one type of beauty, or, there's only one way to be beautiful. There's only one type of pretty privilege, and that is the Hollywood version of pretty privilege. So if you don't spend millions of dollars or have a professional glam team, then it means that you must not be pretty. So you must be delusional. And it's like, okay, if all of the exoticals, if we're all delusional, then the rest of society is delusional as well, because we have all received favoritism due to our perceived beauty. So beauty, that has more so to do with the perception that others have of you. So one person thinking you're ugly or average or an adjustable 6, one person trying to give you a red pill talking point and say, you don't look good, you're going to age badly, you have wrinkles, you're in your 40s, you're in your 30s. One person saying that does not negate the decades worth of pretty privilege that you've already had. So this is how I know that some of the women making rebuttal videos against ours, they don't actually have pretty privilege, because if they did, they would know that making a video calling someone ugly, that's not going to work. And also, let's talk about the psychology of like women who want to invade your privacy, doxers, stalkers, women who are lurking on your social media account. A lot of these women who have that behavior, they do that because it gives them a false sense of control and dominance. So, a lot of those types of women, they feel out of control in their real life. They're not the main character in their real life. So, that's why they're making you the main character. That's why they're spending their time trying to figure out your beauty. They're trying to figure out whether or not your beauty is real. They want to figure out, where are you going? What are you doing with your life? What type of men are you with? Are you married? Are you in a relationship? These are the women who obsess over your vagina. We've got people doing this right now on YouTube. They're obsessing over our vaginas. They're obsessing over whether or not we are married, what type of men we're sleeping with. And they're doing that as a coping mechanism. It's much easier to try to point out the ugliness in someone else rather than to admit your own ugliness. It's much easier to try to point out someone else's flaws rather than addressing your own. So, women who have this behavior, they have an external locus of control. So, they're not in control of themselves. So, they'll try to control you. They want to tell you that you're ugly or you're mid because they want to control your self perception. They don't want you to feel beautiful, they don't want you to feel confident. It's like this anger that they have. They're like, how dare you not spend millions of dollars on your beauty and feel confident? How dare you feel confident in your natural state? How dare you be black passing or black looking or monoracial and be beautiful? How dare you do that? How dare you be pretty and actually love yourself out loud and create YouTube channels and online businesses just to talk about pretty privilege? So these types of women who try to destroy your platform, or they want to destroy your self-esteem, they're trying to emotionally dysregulate you. So that's why you see content creators like Blunt Girly or Pretty Little Reality. That's why you see them coming out and trying to make videos invalidating the women in this space, because they want those women to feel dysregulated. They want you to self-destruct. They want you to feel insecure about your appearance because that's how they feel. So it's all just a form of projection. Those women feel out of control. They feel invisible. They don't like the power that you have. They don't like the fact that you're being celebrated. They don't like the fact that you used a beauty enhancement and you got away with it. How dare you wear makeup and look pretty? How dare you wear a wig and look pretty? How dare you receive all of that validation while having that crazy makeup or having acne or whatever? Have you ever noticed that? A lot of jealous women, they'll be upset because they're like, wait a minute, she didn't have to try as hard. She has beauty flaws and she still gets praised. She has a bad wig on and she still has thousands of followers. She has bad makeup and a bad hairstyle and she still has a ton of people praising her beauty and saying how gorgeous she is. So that's why a lot of women actually get mad. They're mad because they have to have a perfect wig, perfect makeup, perfect body, perfect teeth, perfect lips, perfect skin. Everything about them has to be perfectly done and perfectly curated just for them to get one or two compliments. So the real thing that they're upset at is your effortless pretty privilege. They're upset because you can post a photo with acne scars and still get called gorgeous. They're upset because you can have a little bit of pudge or a little bit of chunk on your stomach. They're mad because you can be a little bit thicker and still get praised for your beauty and they can't. So that's why they're upset, because they're like, wait a minute, if I have to meet a standard of perfection just to have basic visibility, then so do you. So it's that same mindset of, if I suffered, you have to suffer. If I don't get called beautiful all the time, I'm not going to let you be called beautiful. I'm going to try to make you feel ugly because I feel ugly. So do you see the projection there? So it's a narcissistic injury because they're thinking you get attention. They feel like you don't deserve pretty privilege. You don't deserve pretty privilege because you look too black. You don't deserve pretty privilege because you don't look enough like Beyonce. You don't deserve pretty privilege because you have acne scars. So I'm mad that you get likes on social media. I'm mad that you have followers and that you have an anonymous YouTube channel where you talk about pretty privilege and you can attract followers without even having to show your face. I'm mad about that. because I have to show my face in order to prove my beauty. I have to resort to insulting people just to prove my social status or my social power. Have you ever noticed that it's always the women who have no status in society? Those same women will resort to insults. That's the only way they feel powerful. Because when they go out in the real world, they're a loser. They don't actually have power in society. Have you ever noticed a lot of incel men do the same thing? They resort to insults. Oh, you're mid, you're an adjustable 6, you're a 5 out of 10. Those men don't have any power or authority in society. They don't have any actual social status. And so that's why they're trying to feel powerful on the internet by being an internet gangster. They're hoping that their words can emotionally dysregulate you. And have you ever noticed that when you're a pretty girl, people feel like you don't deserve privacy? It's like, okay, you're so pretty that you have to now explain your beauty to others. You now have to explain why your wig looks like that. You have to explain whether or not your hair is real. You have to explain why you have acne scars. You have to explain how you became so skinny, how you got to look like that. Was it Photoshop? Was it filters? Did you bleach your skin? How did you do that? So it's like they put you on such a pedestal without even realizing it, to the point where they feel like you are not worth having privacy. So it's like a form of dehumanizing you. So they've deified you. They've actually deified you. They put you in a godlike position. So that's why the behavior from them is very dehumanizing. They're not treating you like someone they can relate to because they can't relate to you. So that's how I know that people calling the Exoticals mid or ugly, that's how I know that they actually don't think we are mid or ugly. And by the way, the majority of women that I see them calling mid or ugly, these are usually monoracial black women, or in some cases, they're darker skinned women. So it's like, okay, wait a minute. What makes them mid or ugly? What prevents those women from having beauty? Is it their black features? Because remember, your face card, your beauty, it comes from your racial background. It comes from your genetics. So again, my question for YouTubers like Blunt Girly is, what exact facial features, skin tones, and hair textures or bone structures make someone unattractive? So pull up those photos and zoom in to the exact facial features that make them unattractive. And then let's pinpoint the genetics of what caused that person to be born with that facial feature, and then we can talk. And have you ever noticed that whenever you have pretty privilege and you know that you have it, that actually triggers people's insecurities? That's a very big trigger. So I get it. That's why I said that this YouTube channel is not for women who don't like pretty women. If you dislike beautiful women, if you don't like beautiful, confident women, this is not the channel for you. Because being both beautiful and confident, and if you're smart too or talented, oh yeah, that's too much of a trigger. And so a lot of people who resort to personal insults, they can't address your talking points. So that's why they resort to insults. They can't address anything that you're saying, so they will try to ruin your reputation instead. This is no different than basic Betties, who they know that you are beautiful and have social status. They wouldn't be talking shit. People wouldn't talk shit about the Exoticals. If I only had 5 subscribers, if all of us only had 5 or 10 subscribers, nobody would care. They wouldn't be making entire videos about us. People wouldn't be trying to stalk your social media or try to see what you look like or try to zoom into your photos and stuff. People wouldn't be doing that if they really thought that you were ugly, or if they truly thought that you weren't a threat. They wouldn't behave that way. So that's the psychology of someone who feels threatened. She's threatened by the social power that your beauty brings. Think about that. Think about Blunt Girly's video comparing people to Beyonce. Well, that Beyonce has a lot of social status. She is literally a beauty icon. She is a generational beauty icon. So that actually says a lot. She's saying that your aesthetic slightly reminds me of someone that is a generational beauty icon who has been praised for her appearance for decades. And so that's triggering. And so what they do is they want to punish you. A lot of insecure, medium ugly women, they want to punish beautiful women. They want to punish you for being beautiful. Because it's this mindset of, if I don't get to have pretty privilege, you don't either. If I don't feel like I have the same level of pretty privilege as you, I'm going to convince you that you don't have it either. Have you ever noticed that? People only attack those that they feel are above them. They only attack you unprovoked when they feel like you have something they don't. And that's how I know that it's a form of jealousy, because in the case of like Blunt Girly going against me, or like Pretty Little Reality trying to make videos against me, neither of them have come out and made videos sharing receipts of what I've done wrong to them. And so they're seeking clout from an audience by exposing someone. So that's something that happens on YouTube all the time. Sometimes content creators who are not talented at creating content, creators who don't have any solid talking points, kind of like Blunt Girly, she's really just a reaction channel. So reaction channels, that's actually one of the lower paid niches on YouTube. The content is not evergreen, so it means that like as the years go on, the channel becomes less and less relevant. So you have to keep finding shocking things to react to. You have to keep on becoming more and more outlandish. So sometimes people who they do this behavior where they're trying to expose someone, or they're trying to like invade someone's privacy, or they're trying to dox someone. People who have that type of behavior, they're seeking attention. That's actually a desperate attention-seeking behavior. So they're substituting attention for self-worth. So that the act of exposing someone is really just performative. So what they're saying is, I can't get attention for my beauty. I can't get attention for my content. And so I know that so-and-so pretty girl, she gets attention. So let me try to expose her so I can siphon off some of her attention. So they're fighting for the breadcrumbs of your social status. They're fighting for the breadcrumbs of your beauty pedestal. Or they're looking to bring you down a notch. They're hoping to humble you. So what they're doing is they're triangulating. Anytime somebody says, you're not as pretty as so-and-so celebrity, they're triangulating you. That is a narcissistic tactic. They triangulate you with somebody else because they want you to compare yourself to that person. So that's why they will pull up pictures of celebrities and be like, well, you don't look as pretty as so-and-so celebrity. They're doing that because they want you to look at that celebrity and feel inferior to her. So they're hoping to make you feel insecure. They want you to have the same inferiority complex that they have because they feel inferior to you. So they're hoping that you have the same hierarchy thinking. They want you to look at that celebrity and be like, oh shit, I guess I'm not pretty. Okay, let me just go delete my whole entire YouTube channel now. Let me just get off YouTube. Let me just go crawl into a hole now. So it's really a pathetic way to try to ruin somebody's self-esteem. Number 4 is identity-based jealousy. A lot of people are literally jealous of the identity of being a beautiful woman. They're jealous of women who identify as pretty privileged. So it's not just that they're jealous of the beauty itself. They're mad because you actually identify with that. They're mad because you're calling it out, you're flaunting it, you're promoting it. They're mad because you're secure in your identity as a beautiful woman. And so they feel upset. That's why I said that a lot of women, they literally got mad because they couldn't relate to some of the pretty privileged talking points of this channel. And let's talk about decentering men for a moment, because why would a happily married woman get mad that pretty privileged women are decentering men? So it almost comes off as if she's mad that she can't live the lifestyle of a beautiful woman who doesn't have to resort to doing whatever a man wants to appease him. Because a lot of these women who they try to talk crap about pretty women, what they'll do is they try to use red pill talking points to humble you. So they'll say things like, oh, you're going to age and then you're not going to be beautiful. And that's actually not the case. There are beautiful women who age gracefully all the time, but they're saying that because they are insecure about aging. So they're projecting it onto you. They hope that you have the same fear of aging that they do. The only way that you age badly is if you are either already ugly or if you stop taking care of yourself. Those are the only two ways that you can age badly. This channel promotes self-care, so we don't have this scarcity mindset like, oh, my beauty is going to fade away at 20 years old. Oh, it's going to fade away at 30 years old. Oh, I'm going to hit the wall. And I also find it hilarious how Blunt Girly, she attempted to shade me based on my age. And she used a photo of Beyonce as a beauty standard. And Beyonce is what, in her 40s? So I actually found that to be hilariously hypocritical. So you're calling women ugly, or you're implying that they're not as beautiful because of their age. And then one video later, you're using pictures of a middle-aged woman as a standard of beauty. Also, Blunt Girly, she recently did a video speaking against hypergamy. So she's against hypergamy and she's against decentering men. Okay, so the only other option is being in a 50-50 marriage. So it's like, blunt girly, just admit that you're in an unhappy 50-50 marriage. We've already heard the smoke detectors beeping in the background of you creating your YouTube videos. I've already heard the fans going in the background because clearly you don't have air conditioning in some of the rooms you're recording in. So it's like people can tell just based on the talking points and based on the background that the lifestyle you're promoting is a 50-50 lifestyle. And I've actually never even spoken against her for that in the past. I've actually supported her. But why would a happily married woman in a happy 50-50 relationship get upset that we are making videos about being pretty privileged, social climbing, not basing everything on the male gaze? Do you see the psychology exposing itself right there? And let's talk about relationships too, because Blunt Girly claims to have a lot of knowledge about relationships, but notice how she never goes into detail about her personal relationship. She never says her husband's background or how they met or how they split the bills, because we all know that they split bills. Because if she's against hypergamy and she doesn't claim to be a trad wife, and then she's also against decentering men, okay, so the only other option left is being in a 50-50 relationship. So notice how all of her videos are mainly focused on what women are doing wrong in terms of dating. Even her videos speaking against pretty privilege, she's making videos about how ugly people are, but then she's not telling you how to be beautiful, what the standard of beauty is. Because it's like, okay, ugly based on what? Ugly compared to who? And if you're saying that talking points are radical, such as decentering men talking points, radical compared to what? What are you comparing and contrasting the decentering men talking points to? The only option left is 50-50. So she supports 50-50 relationships. So this type of behavior that we're seeing on YouTube with women trying to come against the exotical space, it's very reflective of what happens in real life with jealous women. A lot of women will become your friend. They'll be your friend for a couple of years, but as they see you level up, this channel, I'm in a totally different space with this channel than I was 2 years ago. So a lot of people, they'll be your friend, but as the years go on and they see you making progress, they see you developing yourself, they see that you're growing, they see that your income is rising, they see that you're becoming more visible. So as time goes on, it's almost as if they become more and more triggered by your growth until finally they cannot hold it in anymore. Have you ever noticed that? Like there are some people who they don't mind supporting you when they feel like you're on the same level as them. But then as time goes on and then you start to kind of separate and maybe you start to go a different route than them, then suddenly they feel abandoned by you. They feel left behind. They feel replaced by you. So that's why you heard Blunt Girly bringing up things like my views or my subscribers and my whole entire online business. I was not tracking her stuff. I wasn't tracking her stats. But notice how when a woman is deeply jealous or wants your life, Blunt Girly wants to be a content creator. I am a full-time content creator. She wants to be able to be a full-time content creator with several streams of income, just like what I am. So when somebody wants your life, it's very difficult for them to not be jealous of you. And in her case, there were a lot of trolls that were saying she was like a sidekick, so people, they were essentially saying that she was like the Kelly Rowland to the exotical space. She's not an exotical, she's unambiguous, but they were trying to make it like she's the Kelly Rowland, like she's the sidekick. So you've got women who, they want your life, they already have inferiority complexes that they're dealing with, and they see that you're consistently growing, and they get triggered by that. They get triggered by the fact that your channel is only 3 times bigger than theirs with 7 times the amount of views. They're triggered by your creativity. They're triggered by the fact that you always have new ideas for content. You always have new ideas for your business. You're flooded with new ideas because you're a creative, talented person. So a lot of people, they're triggered by that because you're too much of a threat at that point. You've got beauty, you've got brains, you've got talent, creativity. So that's too many jealousy triggers. So sometimes there are women who they can only stay in your life for a season, or they can only support you for so long before they start to resent you. It's almost like the same qualities they admire in you are the same qualities that they resent you for later on. Because in the case of Blunt Girly, when I first came on YouTube, You'll see on Blunt Girlie's older videos. Go look at her videos. You'll see when she first started her channel, she came on admiring me, admiring my intellect, admiring my content, admiring the fact that I talk my shit and that I point fingers and name names. And here you are years later after her having supported me for hundreds of my videos. Think about how many videos I've created over the past 2 years. So after her supporting hundreds of my videos, eventually it got to a point where she began to resent the same qualities that she admired in me. And the same thing goes for the Exoticals. Blunt Girlie was a strong supporter of the Exotical space. Same thing with content creators like Pretty Little Reality. These are content creators who were supporters of the Exotical space. They admired that we talked about pretty privilege. Now notice how, as time went on, they began to resent that same confidence that we have in our pretty privileged identities. So do you see that? Do you see how the jealousy, it always comes from admiration? And another thing too is fake outrage. A lot of women will try to masquerade their envy. They're trying to cover up their envy with morality. So they'll be like, oh, I want to expose this person as a fraud. You don't care who's fake. You don't genuinely care who's fake and who's a fraud. You don't actually care whose beauty is real or fake, because I don't see you calling out the multi-billion-dollar beauty industry. I don't see you calling out the multi-billion-dollar plastic surgery industry and naming people by name and naming every single celebrity that's ever had any work done. No, you're specifically targeting women in the exotical space because you are specifically envious of those women and you have a specific agenda against those women. So that's another thing. It's fake outrage. It's selective outrage. They're not mad at everybody who has pretty privilege. No, they're only mad at me specifically. They're mad at the other content creators in this space. So what a lot of women envy is visibility. So the exotical space has a lot of visibility. Pretty privileged women have a lot of visibility. So if a woman feels ugly or average, that woman feels trapped. She feels trapped in being regular. She feels like she's just another speck of sand in the crowd. You know, she's just another face in the crowd. She's just another speck of sand. And so that's why you'll see these women kind of stalking the pretty girls' social media or trying to find clips of her like, oh, you know, she looks too pretty in all of her pictures. She looks too pretty on her Instagram. She looks too pretty in all of her YouTubes. So let me try to find some random still shot of her talking. Let me try to find an angle where it's like a random angle in dark lighting so I can try to make her look as unattractive as possible because all the other images are too pretty. If somebody is truly that unattractive, you should be able to pull up hundreds, if not thousands, of unattractive photos of them. Actually, some of the most unattractive people, they don't want to show themselves at all, if we're really being honest. And that's why I say that even I am not an advice channel. I don't consider myself an advice channel or an authority over anybody else. I'm not your leader. I'm not here to tell you how to social climb because I understand that even as an anonymous creator that I can't really be vetted. You don't really know who I am. So I tell you guys all the time, I don't take advice from anyone I wouldn't trade lives with. So because you don't know who I am, you can't take my advice. So I find it interesting that you've got anonymous content creators coming online and then they're bashing fellow anonymous content creators. Isn't that interesting? And then with the whole talking point about like men don't want you. Okay, that's projection of internalized misogyny. That's internalized self-loathing. No, you're afraid that men don't want you. You're afraid that when you age, your worth is going to go down. So that's a projection of fear about yourself. So do you see how a lot of people, they use pretty women as like their mirror? They use pretty women as a mirror. They compare themselves to you. They want to compare their beauty to you, or they feel like they can't compare to you. So they can't put their picture up side by side with yours. Of course not. So they have to try to use a picture of someone who spends millions of dollars per year on their beauty and then try to put that person's picture side by side. Have you ever noticed that? Unattractive women, they wouldn't dare compare themselves to you because they already know that you look better than them. In their minds, because they have hierarchy thinking, they feel like you look better than them. So they can't triangulate you with themselves. They know that they directly can't step to you. They know that your face card doesn't decline. They know that their face card declines. So that's why they have to try to find pictures of celebrities who have spent millions of dollars. They have beauty enhancements or they had surgery, makeup artists, whatever. And then they have to use that to triangulate you. Another thing about the exotical space too is that we break a lot of rules. We break the social norms. And so a lot of women, they have this mindset of if you're pretty, you're supposed to be humble. You're not supposed to know that you're pretty. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.